You've been lied to about money your entire life, not by con artists or scammers, but by the people you trust most, your parents, your teachers, your friends. They handed you a broken map and told you it was the path to success, and you followed it. You followed it for years. You worked harder, saved more, waited longer, and you're still not where you want to be. Because effort without the right mental code is just expensive exhaustion. Today, we're going to rip apart every comfortable lie you've been told about money and success. Money truth exposed. We'll expose the invisible chains keeping you financially stuck, the psychological traps that make poverty feel normal, and the brutal mental shifts that separate the wealthy from everyone else. By the end of this video, you'll either be furious or transformed, probably both. As Warren Buffett once warned, the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Your financial chains are about to become very, very visible. The poverty code. Before you were 7 years old, your brain absorbed every single thing your parents said about money. Not just what they taught you directly, but every offhand comment, every anxious whisper, every argument about bills they thought you couldn't hear. Neuroscience calls this the imprint period. Your subconscious mind was wide open, recording everything like a sponge dropped into an ocean of beliefs. Your financial blueprint was written before you could even read. Think about it. Did your parents ever say things like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy, or we can't afford that? Those weren't just phrases. They were installation codes. Your brain filed them as survival instructions. And now, decades later, every financial decision you make runs through that corrupted software first. A study from Cambridge University found that money habits are essentially set by age 7. 7 years old. Your entire financial future was programmed before you lost your first tooth. The wealthy understand this. That's why they don't just teach their children about money, they program them with completely different beliefs about what's possible. Programmed before age 7. But here's the uncomfortable part. Knowing you were programmed isn't enough. Because the real question is what exactly was installed in your mind, and that leads us to something far more disturbing. Comfort addiction. Here's something nobody talks about. Poverty is comfortable. Not financially comfortable, obviously, but psychologically comfortable. Your brain is addicted to what's familiar, even when what's familiar is destroying you. This is called the homeostatic impulse, and it's the single most powerful force keeping you broke. Your nervous system doesn't care about your bank account. It cares about predictability. And if being broke is what you've always known, your brain will fight to keep you there. Every time you try to level up, your subconscious pulls you back. You get a raise and suddenly have an unexpected expense. You start a business and self-sabotage right when it's about to work. Sabotage. You procrastinate on the very actions that would change your life. That's not laziness. That's your internal thermostat doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping you at the temperature you were set to. As psychologist Gay Hendricks explains, each of us has an inner thermostat setting that determines how much love, success, and creativity we allow ourselves to enjoy. If this belief about comfort hit close to home, hit like and subscribe to reprogram more of your money blocks. The next one might be the one holding you back the most, because your comfort addiction connects to something even more insidious lurking in your daily habits. Poor man's math. Poor people and rich people literally calculate money differently. And I don't mean they use different apps. I mean their brains process financial decisions through completely opposite frameworks. The poor calculate what things cost, while the rich calculate what things earn. When a poor person sees a $1,000 course, they think I can't afford that. When a wealthy person sees the same course, they think what's the return on investment? Same price tag, completely different mental equation. This isn't about having more money, it's about a fundamentally different operating system. The broke mind asks, how much does it cost? The wealthy mind asks, how much will it make me? Cost versus return. Robert Kiyosaki spent decades explaining this through one simple concept: assets versus liabilities. Poor people buy things that take money out of their pocket. Rich people buy things that put money into their pocket. Same income, opposite results. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. The average broke person has 1, and they spend everything it generates on liabilities they call rewards for working hard. Your math isn't wrong because you're bad at numbers. Your math is wrong because you were taught the wrong equation entirely. And speaking of wrong equations, the next one might be the most dangerous belief of all. The hard work lie. This is going to sting. Hard work does not create wealth. I'll say it again. Hard work by itself does not create wealth. The hardest working people on this planet are not the richest. Miners work harder than CEOs. Farmers work harder than investors. Construction workers work harder than hedge fund managers. If hard work alone created wealth, every single laborer on earth would be a millionaire. So why do we keep believing this lie? Because it was installed during the Industrial Revolution when factory owners needed obedient workers who would trade their entire lives for a paycheck without questioning the system. And that programming stuck. It was passed down through generations like a genetic disease. Work smart, not hard. The wealthy don't work harder. They work on different things. They work on systems, leverage, and scalable solutions. They build things once and get paid forever. As Naval Ravikant puts it, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity to gain your financial freedom. The goal is not to work more hours, but to make each hour worth exponentially more. You don't need a better work ethic. You need a better wealth strategy. And that strategy starts with understanding something most people completely misunderstand about value. Value illusion. You've been taught that your value is measured by your time, 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day. Your salary is literally calculated by how many hours you sit in a chair. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Time is the worst measure of value ever invented. The market doesn't pay for time. It pays for problems solved. A brain surgeon doesn't earn more because they work longer hours. They earn more because they solve a problem almost nobody else can solve. The rarer your solution, the more you're worth. Period. Your income is directly proportional to the problems you can solve at scale. Most people spend their entire careers trying to be slightly better at common skills. Typing faster, managing emails more efficiently, showing up on time. These are commodity skills. Anyone can do them. And anything anyone can do will always be priced at the minimum the market will accept. The wealthy obsess over a different question entirely. Not how can I work more, but how can I become irreplaceable? Try not to become a man of success, but rather a man of value. When you shift from selling time to solving rare problems, your income doesn't grow linearly. It explodes exponentially. But even understanding value isn't enough if you're trapped by the next invisible prison. Identity prison. This might be the most dangerous segment in this entire video, because what I'm about to tell you explains why people who know exactly what to do still don't do it. You don't have a money problem, you have an identity problem. Your self-image is a prison, and you built the walls yourself. Deep in your subconscious, there's a story about who you are, and that story has a financial chapter. It says things like, I'm not a money person, or people like me don't get rich, or I'm just not lucky with money. And here's what makes this so devastating. Your brain will move heaven and earth to prove that story right. Psychologist Maxwell Maltz discovered this in the 1960s. He found that people don't outperform their self-image, ever. Identity dictates income. A person who sees themselves as someone who earns $50,000 a year will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity that could take them beyond that. They'll turn down promotions, avoid investments, and dismiss ideas, all without realizing why. You will never outperform the story you tell yourself about who you are. The wealthy don't just think about money differently, they see themselves differently. They identified as wealthy before they had the bank account to prove it. Change your identity, and your income will follow. And this leads us to one of the most overlooked factors in financial success, something hiding in your closest relationships. Circle of broke. Jim Rohn said something that changed millions of lives. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And when it comes to money, this isn't just motivational fluff. It's neuroscience. Your brain has mirror neurons that literally copy the behaviors, beliefs, and emotional patterns of the people around you. If your 5 closest friends are broke, complaining about the economy, and spending every paycheck on things that depreciate, your brain is absorbing that as normal. Your circle defines wealth. You're not just influenced by your friends, you're being programmed by them. Every conversation about how expensive everything is, every joke about being broke, every shared complaint about work, those are installation sessions for poverty software. Your social circle is either an accelerator or an anchor for your wealth. The wealthy are extremely intentional about who they spend time with, not because they're snobs, but because they understand the invisible transfer of beliefs that happens in every interaction. This doesn't mean you abandon your friends, but it means you need to be brutally honest about which relationships are pulling your financial thermostat down. You need to add people to your circle who operate at the frequency you want to reach. But even the right circle won't help if you're trapped by what comes next. Fear tax. Every year, fear costs you more money than any tax the government could ever impose. I call it the fear tax, and it's the silent wealth killer that nobody talks about. Fear. It's the reason you didn't start that business. the reason you didn't invest when you had the chance, the reason you stayed in a dead-end job for years longer than you should have. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing what little you have. And here's the cruel irony. By trying to protect what you have, fear guarantees you'll never have more. A Harvard Business School study found that the average person's fear of losing $100 is twice as powerful as their desire to gain $200. Your brain is literally wired to choose poverty over the risk of temporary discomfort. The wealthy feel fear too. The difference is they've learned to calculate the cost of inaction. They ask themselves, what will my life look like in 5 years if I do nothing? Inaction costs more. That question terrifies them more than any risk ever could. As Mark Twain observed, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. Your fear isn't protecting you. It's charging you interest on a life you never lived. And this connects directly to the mechanism that keeps the entire system locked in place. Dopamine trap. Your phone is a poverty machine, not because of the content on it, but because of what it does to your brain chemistry. Every notification, every scroll, every like gives you a tiny hit of dopamine, and that dopamine is stealing your ability to build wealth. Instant gratification is the silent assassin of long-term wealth. Here's how it works. Building wealth requires delayed gratification. It requires doing uncomfortable things today for rewards you won't see for months or years. But your brain has been hijacked by a constant stream of instant rewards. Why would it choose to work on a business plan when scrolling gives it pleasure right now? Why would it choose to invest when shopping delivers dopamine immediately? 1. Social media trains your brain to crave instant rewards. 2. Wealth building requires tolerating delayed gratification. 3. Every dopamine hit weakens your financial discipline. 4. The wealthy deliberately limit instant pleasure sources. Stanford's famous marshmallow experiment proved that children who could delay gratification became significantly more successful adults. The wealthy have trained themselves to find pleasure in the process, not just the payoff. They've rewired their reward circuits to celebrate discipline instead of consumption. Your dopamine addiction isn't just wasting your time. It's actively rewiring your brain away from everything wealth requires. But all of these traps lead to one final truth that changes everything. The wealth shift. Everything we've discussed today, the poverty code, the comfort addiction, the wrong math, the hard work lie, the value illusion, the identity prison, the broke circle, the fear tax, the dopamine trap, they all share one thing in common. They exist in your mind. Mind controls money, not in the economy, not in the government, not in your boss's office, in your mind. And that's actually the best news you've heard all day, because you can't control the economy, you can't control inflation. You can't control what happened to you as a child, but you can reprogram your mind. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is a mental shift away. Starting right now, there are 3 things you can do. First, audit your beliefs. Write down every thought you have about money for 1 week. You'll be shocked at the poverty programming running on autopilot. Second, change your inputs. Replace 1 hour of entertainment with 1 hour of wealth education every single day. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Third, upgrade your identity. Stop saying I can't afford it and start asking how can I afford it. That single question rewires your brain from victim to creator. The lock was always in your mind, and now you have the key. Every single barrier between you and wealth is made of thought, not concrete, not circumstance. Thought, and thoughts can be changed. The poverty code your parents installed can be overwritten. The comfort addiction can be broken. The hard work lie can be unlearned. The fear tax can be canceled. Reprogram your wealth code. You now understand what 99% of people will go their entire lives without ever realizing. That money doesn't flow to the hardest workers. It flows to the most aligned minds. If you made it this far, comment wealth recoded to prove you're among the few who actually absorbed this. Because knowing isn't enough. You have to act on it, starting today, starting now. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it. If this video exposed something in you, hit subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear the uncomfortable truth about money.